Doing a video on how I'm doing the CO2 in the tank. Now, this information is strictly from what I read. I didn't, from what I heard and what I read. So don't take me too much serious on this because I'm still learning. I'm not an expert at this in no means or form. I'm just trying it out. And it seems to be working for me. Maybe it might work for you a different way, but yeah, that's all I can say right now. Until I get excellent growth in here, then I can't say it's doing good or doing bad. So let's get to it. How I set it up and how I set up the bottle and all this other stuff. Well, first off, I want to say that I did spot this in a couple of videos where people are pumping CO2. There's even a video where Dustin does a video and he's putting the CO2 into the tank and he uses like a tote or something to float at the top, like something to hold your stuff in, and then he floats it at the top and he pumps the CO2 into that, but he's pumping it through the tank and the rest of it goes into that so that it's not wasted. Now, I'm not doing it that way. I'm putting it in the bottle only. I'm not pumping CO2 into this tank. Well, I mean, unless you count the, oxygen pump thing, bubble wall right there, but that's not really catching that much because the bubbles are like really huge, so it's not diffusing anything. But I have it in this bottle. I did silicone it, well, super glue it pretty much. Cut holes and cut slits in it, and then I sealed it so that there's no leak. As you can see, there's no bubbles coming out of there. Get it to focus, no bubbles coming out of there, so the CO2 is sealed in there. The only way for it to escape is being absorbed into the water. Now, I have this suction cup just to hold it, just to make sure that it does not pop up, because this thing, if you don't have it in there, eventually it will like shoot up out of the tank because of all the pressure. Now, with that being said, there's another couple of people that have it floating at the top of the tank. They'll have it right here at the top of the tank and they'll just fill it up, and then there's not really that much pressure to push it to absorb into the water. Now, you can do a little bit more reading yourself. It's a DIY CO2 diffuser, pretty much. That's pretty much what this is. Now, this is the really old way of doing things. Way before the diffusers and all that other stuff happened, there was this. And I'm going back to this because I feel like it's safer for me and safer for my family to do it this way. Don't need my children to be twisting knobs and mess something up. That way, if I just put it in here, it'll be a whole lot easier. And if I'm not around, I can easily tell somebody, just pump it in there until you fill the bottle up. You can fill it up as much as you want until you see the bubbles coming out, and then that's it. So it's pretty much easy for them to do it without overdoing it or overdoing it. And pretty much if do that, it's easy. Now, the only thing about this is the things change, like the temperature changes. The flow in the water is constant. It's a constant flow in the water, so that doesn't change. But there's a lot of variables in this that changes that can, make more CO2 go in the water and make less go into the water. And temperature is a part of that. So if your water is like really warm, it'll absorb less CO2 into the water. And if your water is cold, from my understanding, that it absorbs more CO2. Now, I've been told that at night, plants absorb more CO2, but it does not. They're not using it, which is weird But I don't know. I still have to do a lot more research before I can, tell you guys this is the perfect thing. Now, my plants are growing. I will show you the plants if you can't see them right now. But that's how I set it up. I cut out the bottom of this so that I can pump the CO2 in there. And then I put it in there, pump it in, fill it up as much as I can. It absorbs pretty quickly in one day. Depending on how low you have it is how much more pressure is going to be for the water to try to push up. Now, if you have it floating, of course, there's less pressure and less CO2 being diffused. So I put it under the water so I can have more pressure and have more CO2 being diffused, and the flow helps it circulate throughout the tank. So that's what the flow is for. It helps it to push it, circulate the CO2 around the tank. And I also have the bubbles on. I don't always have it on. I have it on right now, but I don't always have it on. Now, the plants are doing fine. As you can see, I am experiencing new growth in all the plants. That plant is fairly easy to get new growth in. You can see the pink flamingo is, getting some growth right now. My red plants are still staying red, even though they're low. And that light, I only have one fluval full spectrum 2.0 aqua sky, whatever you want to call it. I believe that's it. And the fern is still growing. This sword plant is growing new leaves. So I think it's doing good. I just now started dosing. Also, I went with Leaf Zone because this is what I used to use, and it did excellent with coloring and kept the plants perfectly fine. Now, I go with what I know. That was the first thing I know. I know there's so much more things that you could use to dose, but that's what I know. That's what I'm used to. So that's what I'm using, Leaf Zone, right now. I just put some in yesterday, so it should be good for about a week or two. So I don't have to put any more in for a while. Now, if you have any other questions other than what I answered, or if you didn't understand what I answered or didn't understand anything, please leave a comment below, and maybe I can answer it or do another video for you guys. I am recording as I go. As I learn, I'm trying to help you guys see what I'm doing and what's working for me. Now, this may not work for you. Viewers' discretion, that this is how I'm doing it and it's working for me. Now, I'm not too sure if it will work for you because it could be water quality, it could be a whole bunch of other factors. What works for one person may not work for another person, or it may work better for another person. So that's the end of the video. I'm not going to stretch this out any much longer. You can see the growth. I don't have to. Big thing about this setup is I don't have to worry about overdoing the CO2 and it killing my fish. Now, it may not be too much CO2 for the plants to grow extra fast, but I know for sure that it is not too much CO2 to the point where my fish will die. Because if anything, that bottle pops up, all the CO2 is released back into the air. It is not absorbed into the tank. It'll be released back out of the water. It'll be pushed out of the water. So I don't have to worry about overdoing CO2 with this setup. That is the best thing for sure. I don't have to worry about anybody twisting knobs or anything and just blowing out my tank. Perfectly fine with me. Now, like I said, if you like any more updates on this tank as I go with the CO2, please do subscribe, leave a like. Thanks for watching. Peace.